What is going on, football fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video, and in today's video, I am going to project the 53-man roster, which should be here in, about a week. The season starts in just under 2 weeks. Our final preseason game, I believe, is on Thursday, maybe Friday, against the New England Patriots, and we should have the final cuts out very shortly thereafter. And it's very tough to project this 53-man roster. It really is, because you could go a variety of ways. Are they going to go with 4 tight ends? Are they going to go with 3 quarterbacks? How many offensive linemen are they going to go with? And I did my best to project what I think would happen. A lot of my subscribers suggested I do this video. I think it's a cool concept. So I'm going to go ahead and give it my best try. Also, I wanted to shout out one of my best subscribers, Christian Nazy, always one of the first to comment on my videos. Thank you for being such a great subscriber, as well as Joe Musa. Joe has been a great supporter of my channel since damn near the start. He's an artist. I'm going to put the link in the description. Go ahead and check out his New York Giants art. Figured I'd give him a quick plug, as he always helps to promote my channel. So there you go, guys. There's a couple of quick plugs, and now we're going to jump into the 53-man roster for this year's New York Giants football team. And, of course, we're going to start with the offense, and who better to start with than the quarterback position? Obviously, the quarterbacks, it's a given that you're always going to have at least 2. You need your starter, you need a backup. Some teams go with 3. I'm going to have the Giants, in fact, going with 3 quarterbacks to open up the season. Eli Manning will be the starter. Daniel Jones, the number 6 overall pick, of course, being the backup, who's looked great in the preseason and may very well take over the reins at some point this year. And I'm going to have them going with a 3rd in Alex Tanney. They signed Tanney to a contract earlier this offseason. Laletta will be the odd man out. I think it makes sense to have Tanney, being that he's that veteran presence, another guy that the rookie quarterback could pick the brain off of on the sidelines. So I think it makes sense to carry 3 quarterbacks for this year's Giants team. So I'm going to have them, in fact, doing just that to open up the season. That will now bring us to the running back position. And I had the Giants going with 4 running backs. Of course, Barkley is a given, and I think Elijah Penny is the other given. The Giants are going to go with a fullback. He's looked great in preseason, and he's going to do a very good job of blocking for Saquon Barkley in the I formation. So really looking forward to seeing what he brings. Penny was strong for the Giants last year in the second half. The other 2 is between 3 players, that being Rod Smith, Paul Perkins, and Wayne Gallman. Wayne Gallman, of course, was drafted by the Giants fairly recently. Rod Smith was picked up by the Giants, the former Cowboy, and Paul Perkins also was a former draft pick of the Giants. Perkins is coming off an injury. He's looked pretty good in the passing game. He's kind of a jack-of-all-trades type running back. Rod Smith is more of that short yardage running back, and Rod Smith's similar to that. Wayne Gallman is similar to that. Wayne Gallman's had some fumbling issues. I could have easily went Gallman, and I could completely understand if people go Gallman. I am going to go with Perkins, and I am going to go with Rod Smith. I think they'll use Smith in the 3rd and inch situation, maybe a 4th and inches type situation, the short yardage role, and Perkins will be used to spell Saquon Barkley, being that he could catch the balls out of the backfield. So there you have it. That's my running backs on the roster. Next up, we're going to go with the wide receiver position, and I had 7 wide receivers cracking this roster. Golden Tate, of course, will not be on the opening day roster, being that he is suspended for the first 4 games. I think there are a few givens, that being Sterling Shepard, Cody Latimer, Benny Fowler, I think, is a given. He's looked great this entire offseason. He kind of fits that Golden Tate mold, a guy that could fill in for him to start the year, being that slot guy. So those 3, I think, are givens. I think Darius Slayton is damn near close to given. He looked great in his first preseason game, be it only 1 catch, but it was a great catch down the sideline. And I think he brings an explosiveness that not a lot of wide receivers on this team bring, and could be a valuable asset. So I'm going to go with those 4 for sure. I'm going to have Russell Shepard on the roster because of his contributions in special teams. He's also a veteran wide receiver that I think could bring some help to this team. TJ Jones will be on the roster as my 6th receiver. He's looked great so far in the preseason. He's scored a couple of touchdowns. And another guy with some experience in the league. And last but not least, I'm going to go with Britton Golden. He's shown the ability to be a solid punt returner. I think Peppers will be the punt returner. But I think Golden can be a contributor in special teams as well. And he made a couple of nice catches in the last game. So I'll go Golden as my 7th receiver. And I'm going to leave Reggie White Jr. off the roster. Not quite making the cut. That now is going to bring us to the tight end position. Tight end position, I could have went with 3. And if I went with 3, Conrad would have been the odd man out. Conrad has not done much in preseason. I think obviously Evan Ingram's a given. I think Rhett Ellison is a given. And Simonson contributed to this team last year. He showed that he has some talent. But I went with 4 when I looked at the rest of the squad. So Conrad just makes the roster. He may be the 53rd man on my roster. But I get Conrad just cracks the opening day roster. That now is going to bring us to my favorite part of this year's team, and that is the offensive line, the Hog Mollies. And the offensive line has looked pretty strong so far in the preseason, and I went with 9 offensive linemen. Of course, you have the starters, John Alapio, Mike Remmers, Nate Solder, Will Hernandez, and Kevin Zeitler. Those are given. Those 5s are given. They need 4 backups. I went with Spencer Pulley, Chad Wheeler, Nick Gates, and Chad Slade. I think Pulley and Wheeler are definitely givens. I wanted to put George Asafoja in there so bad, but he's missed all of preseason, most of training camp with that concussion. I think the 7th-round pick will start out on the practice squad. We'll have to wait and see. But those are my 9 projected offensive linemen to just make the squad. Other notable cuts so far have been Wayne Gallman, and I think I alluded to Reggie White Jr. as well as Kyle Laletta. Next up, we're going to go on the other side of the football, and we're going to go with the D-line. And the D-line, I think, is being a little bit overlooked by a lot of people in the media. I think this is a pretty strong part of the Giants' defense. I really do. They have a lot of good defensive tackles on this D-line. I went with 5 of them. B.J. Hill had a great rookie year last year. The former 3rd-round pick came up with 5.5 sacks. Dalvin Tomlinson, I'm going to have him there as well. Dexter Lawrence. That looks to be your starting 3 in the 3-4. And then to back them up, I'm going to go with Olsen Pierre, who had a nice sack. And he's looked pretty strong so far in the preseason. And I'm going to go with R.J. McIntosh. Last year's 5th-round pick, I think he's out of Miami, has a lot of talent, has not gotten on the field yet due to injury. But I'm going to have McIntosh on there. When I say on the field, I mean last year. He's been in training camp. But I'm going to go with those 5 to make the team. And I think that's pretty cut and dry. That will now bring us to the pass rusher, the outside linebacker position. And I'm really excited about this position last year. The Giants, of course, have Lorenzo Carter coming back. They brought in the X-Man in the draft. They brought in Marcus Golden. Those 3, I think, are givens. That being, of course, Marcus Golden, O'Shane Ximines, and Lorenzo Carter. Kareem Martin getting paid like $5.5 million, I think, will be the 4th. And that's what I went with. I went with 4 outside linebackers for this team, making 9 players so far on the defensive squad. Bringing us to a spot where I think a lot of us are excited so far going into this year, and that being the inside linebacker position. There are a couple of guys, younger players, that I think may crack this team in the starting lineup. I went with 4 middle linebackers, just like I did with 4 outside linebackers. Obviously, you have 2 starters in the 3-4 defense. I project the starters to be Alec Ogletree and, in fact, Tay Davis, a very good player in pass coverage. I think that will be your starting 2. Ryan Conley has looked strong in training camp, the linebacker out of Wisconsin. I think everybody projected him to be on the 53-man roster, but most people thought he would be, strictly a special teams contributor. He may get some time in the starting lineup for this team at some point this year. He's looked pretty damn strong in preseason, and he's been more athletic than I anticipated. And I'm going to have B.J. Goodson making the squad as the 4th middle linebacker. But there you go. There we go. So far we have 13 players on the defense. That now brings us to the cornerback spot, in which I had 7 players. The cornerback spot has been revamped. It really has. It's been a youth movement now. They're probably going to need a year or 2 to get experience. Their lone guy right there in the picture is Janoris Jenkins with experience, and he has a lot of it. Janoris will definitely be the first corner on this team. And starting alongside him, I think it'll be DeAndre Baker. Really looking forward to him. Those 2 obviously are givens, as is Julian Love. Corey Ballantyne has looked great. I'm going to have him as my 4th corner. He's even got some first-team reps. Grant Haley was a great slot corner last year for the Giants. Underrated. I think he's still very much in play to start against Julian Love. Antonio Hamilton, I'm going to have making the team, along with Sam Beal. Even with the injuries, I think Sam Beal does, in fact, make the 53-man team, a guy with a lot of talent. We gave up a supplemental pick for him last year, and I think the Giants are going to give him every opportunity they can to make an impact on the 53-man squad. Which now brings us to the safety position. And one of our biggest offseason acquisition is that man right there. That being Jabril Peppers. Jabril Peppers, talented. Great coverage. Great in coverage. He's shown it so far in the preseason. Really looking forward to seeing what he can do for this Giants defense. I went with 4 players at the safety position. That being Jabril Peppers, Antoine Bethea, the veteran that I expect to start the year, Michael Thomas, and Sean Chandler. Chandler looked pretty good in his last game. And I think those 4 are pretty much givens. I think those will be the safeties that make the team. I could definitely see Julian Love playing some safety as well, along with the slot corner. And then finally, last but not least, the special teams. The kicker, the punter, the long snapper. And that's simple. That's Aldrick Rosas, Riley Dixon, and Zach Diassi. Diassi's been here forever as the long snapper, and he's going to be doing it one more time. But that wraps it up for the New York Giants and my projected 53-man roster. I'd like to get your guys' takes in the comments below. Who do you think will make this team? Who do you think won't? As always, guys, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe. Drop a comment. Maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.